Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Aliens and Angels Live podcast, April 20th, 2025. And for those of you who celebrate Easter, happy Easter. And today is part 3, chapter 10. What does ET think of us? So far this year, I have read chapters 1 to 9 of my new book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors. Please do go back and watch the replays to catch up. Today, we will continue to read and discuss part 3, chapter 10. What does ET think of us? And for those of you who have already purchased your copy, feel free to follow along, add your comments, and ask me questions arising from the content. And if you do not own your own copy, the links to both the Kindle and paperback versions are featured below in the description. If you're in a country that's not Canada or the United States, just go to the Amazon in your country and go down to the book menu or the Kindle menu and click on that, and then add the name of my book to the search bar within the bookstore, and you should easily be able to find it. All of the links are featured below, and I want to thank you in advance for liking, commenting, subscribing, and please do share my content with your friends. And I'm happy to announce that YouTube channel memberships are also available, so you can receive my perks and help to support my channel. So a lot of people don't realize how important it is to like videos, comment. It really helps the algorithm, which I'm not sure who controls it, to push out my video so that more people see it. And I want to thank you in advance for that. I want to say hi to Denise. Denise is my very faithful friend, shows up for every show. I appreciate you so much, Denise, and happy Easter back to you. Denise says, I got the book. Thank you. Yeah, I actually, Denise was participated in a fundraiser for Robert Khalil from the Typical Skeptic podcast. And I donated 4 copies of my book, 3 of which he gave out to a random selection of people who supported his channel. And Denise has waited an awfully long time to get her book. So I contacted Rob and said, Rob, what's happening? Denise hasn't got her book yet. And he said he would get on that as soon as he could. He's had a lot of upheaval in his life, and sometimes that can't be helped, which reminds me, I'm going to be on Rob's show tomorrow. For those of you who want to join us, I'm going to be talking about a whole new experience that I didn't see coming. Very interesting, very on point. And I've talked about it a little bit on another show, but not much. So tomorrow is going to be kind of the big reveal of my new experiences, which looks like they will also culminate in another book once I have enough information. So yeah, so thank you, Denise. I really appreciate you being here, especially on an Easter where a lot of people are generally got plans, and here you are, and I just really appreciate you. So today I'm going to cover the last chapter of my book, Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors. When you order this book online, it will not have this band across. This is just the author copy, but it's the same exact content inside. And for those of you who don't know, I also have a second book published now called Transdimensional 2, Meet the Greys picture book. Now, my second book, I did not expect to publish this. In fact, it came to me, as often inspiration does, through dreams, where I was sort of instructed to put together a book to reduce the fear amongst humankind. And the reason you want to reduce the fear is so that you can stay grounded and you can maintain your critical thinking skills. So the first couple chapters in this book are, I have altogether, including myself, 8 people talking about their experiences with the Greys. And some have included pictures, like Dolly Saffron has included a picture of Mama, her main contact, who has been with her throughout her life. And then I have over 250 full page illustrations of beings who are what we would loosely call the Greys. Now, these are AI generated. These are not selfies, they're not snapshots, and I didn't create these myself. I created them with the help of AI. And it's divided up into chapters. So there's male Greys, female Greys, gray children, gray hybrids, um, Greys that look a little bit like humans. And they come from many, many different species, or I should say the same species, but many different family lines or races. And again, the reason why I produced this book was to reduce your fear, but it's also a super interesting picture book that you might enjoy. So that's the companion so far to my first book, and I'm going to read from that now. Let's take a look at the chat before I get into it. Oh, we've got a few people with us today. John P. Adventures. Nice to see you, John P. If you guys haven't done so, go over and subscribe to John P. Super nice guy, very interested in the whole ET phenomenon. And he's been a big supporter of the show. And yeah, so please do that. So without further ado, it's a short chapter, but it's an important chapter. And it's, what does ET think of us? So we're used to thinking we're at the center of the universe and that we're so important as humans, but it's not exactly so from the perspective of different other beings. So I'll just start reading from the book. Please feel free to follow along if you have your book. And it's on page 146. Most beings aboard the big ship are not concerned with Earth or its events. Generally speaking, beings who live on board do not think about or talk about humans and Earth affairs because our historic and current situations would be very disturbing to them and even abhorrent because we are so out of balance. So remember, as you learned in previous chapters, these beings are at our next stage of development. So their whole lives are dominated with peace and kindness and unconditional love. They treat each other with great respect, and they can't even imagine the kind of horrors that go on here on Earth. And I think it's not that they don't care about us and other, what I'm going to loosely call less civilized communities on different worlds. It's that this would be shocking and very upsetting to them. So that would tell me that the beings who we do have contact with, like the Greys, probably have been through some kind of educational program so they know what to expect, and they probably volunteered for contact, knowing the risks. That's how I see it. Again, we must stop thinking of ET as inhuman-centric and anthropocentric terms. When I say they are at our next stage of development, they are also higher dimensional beings. They are one essence, diversified into the appearance of individuals like us, but they're on a higher level of being. They are strongly rooted in the love harmonic, and this sets the intention of their lives. For example, when they work and are in training, they do not follow a work schedule. They live in the flow. And I call the flow with a capital F in the book. They just think about what they would like to do next, whether the inspiration comes from self, another being, the ship, or any combination of influences. Everything just flows. When they are tired, they rest. When they want to learn, they learn and are very much aware of their feelings and follow the flow. This is partly because they are intuitive and telepathic, but it's also due to their being at one with the chaos of the natural flow of reality. We on Earth have yet to realize that the chaos is guided by universal consciousness, and this God energy is a force that we are not meant to replace. Within the systemization of our lives and our limited concepts of time, we are unable to recognize the bigger picture. But with the emergence of chaos theory, we are beginning to grasp that there is a much greater intelligent order found within what appears to us as chaos. The limiting bureaucratic order that the construct creates through propaganda and programming is severely limiting at best and is evil at its worst. In the past, our ancestors were brutally forced to agree to subjugate themselves into slavery, and the socio religious, political, cultural, economic propaganda war construct was created. This is the framework we were taught to worship and obey. ET does not have use for constructs. They have been free since they rose above our level of understanding and the nature of reality. So we've been taught that chaos is confusion and it's negative and it's a bad thing, but the bureaucratic system that we've been given is actually the problem. So our ancestors way back, they went by the seasons, they went by the cycles of the moon, they went by what, when morning came and when night fell, and they adjusted their lives accordingly. And then along came the construct, which said, nope, you have to follow time. You have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning. You have to follow a clock. You have to be at work by 9. You eat your lunch at 12. You get off at 4 or 5. Then you make dinner. And it just doesn't work. And most of us who have tried to fit into that system are exhausted, absolutely exhausted, because it doesn't really suit us. I just want to give a shout out to Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. Hello, wonderful humans, he says, and hello, my wonderful friend as well. So we're talking about the last chapter in my book, if you're late joining us, on page 146. So the chapter's basically, what does ET think about us? But I'm giving a little bit of backstory as to what their lives are like aboard the big ship and in other worlds, just so that you can get a glimpse of the difference. So here on Earth, we have, a minute is divided up into 60 seconds and how many hours are in a day. And it's all very mathematical, but it's not necessarily natural. And they don't operate like that. They don't go, oh, you have to get up at this time and you have to be at work at that time. And no, there's none of that. It's just their own intuition, inclinations. Of course, they're all telepathic. They are integrated within the big ship, which is also telepathic and alive. And when something needs doing, they just go and do it if it's convenient for them, unless they have something else they would rather do. And it works beautifully, absolutely beautifully. And so now we have what they call chaos theory. They're starting to understand the patterns and the natural flow within all things when you put our measurement of time aside. Another interesting thing about chaos theory is, for those of you out there who are manifesting things for yourselves or learning the art of manifestation, it's interesting that before we bring something into reality, things tend to get really messy and chaotic. And that is because things are being made manifest or created from the sub-zero point or the Planck level, and the energy needs to create drag and come into reality. And in order to do that, it draws energy from everything and everywhere. And that's what creates the illusion of chaos. And then when things settle, then our manifestation comes to fruition. So, my advice to all of you is if you're wanting something to come into your life and you're seriously working on manifesting it, and if for some reason things get really messy before they get better, that is part of the process. And so, ET is not afraid of that process. They understand how it works. And it's pretty beneficial for us to understand that as well. I'll just continue. The flow that we desire to tap into is the chaos. We learn to live within the chaos, where we discover even greater ways to thrive. There is no need for control. Getting back to the question of what does ET think about us, I'm going to now turn to a popular movie as a metaphor and illustration. So the movie I'm referring to, for those of you who've seen it, those of you who have not, you might want to check it out. It's called The Village. It was produced in 2004 by M. Night Shyamalan, and it's an excellent metaphor for understanding our place among the intergalactic and interdimensional family. In the story, there is a constructed village, and the people believe in narratives about a dangerous monster, and this is meant to keep people from straying outside of their village. Every once in a while, someone would put on a scary costume and frighten the hell out of the residents. The purpose was to maintain the purity of the culture and get residents to obey restrictions and boundaries and curfews. Spoiler alert, near the end of the show, we find out that this village is embedded into a mainstream area with nearby towns and communities who know nothing of the residents within the constructed village. They go about their daily affairs oblivious to this preserved culture within the village. The villagers within the construct know nothing of the others outside. One day, one of the villagers strays outside of their boundaries and finds the mainstream people who don't look scary or fearsome at all. There were no monsters. This is very much like my experience with ET. They look very much like us, are healthier, stronger, wiser, and are more technologically and spiritually advanced than us, but that's about it. With only a few exceptions, ET is going about his or her business with no thought to us because they don't even know that we are here. I am like the person who strayed from the village in my aforementioned metaphor and found that there are all kinds of other beings out there. And so you could really see the likeness to what we experience here on Earth. There are all kinds of forces. There's religious forces who want you to believe these are demons, that there is danger if we stray outside of the constraints of the church. Governments are saying, oh, we have to have these bureaucratic systems, otherwise, who will manage humanity? When in reality, we can manage ourselves quite well by going with the flow and tapping into the flow. And there are all kinds of agencies who want us to fear the unknown, have us believe that telepathy and paranormal experiences are made up or um, are under the domain of the mentally ill, or even that ETs are dangerous or bad. All this garbage going on, and we're brainwashed into believing it because that's the mainstream narrative. But it isn't until we stray outside of the mainstream narrative that that we find out that there's other things out there, and these other things are not in any way what we were told they are. Tennessee Kentucky Bigfoot says, I had to define monster in my own words to remove a false belief. To me, a monster is anything without love. Excellent point. And I would also add to that that I have seen more evidence of so-called monsters amongst humanity than I have ever seen within the paranormal realms. I'm just going to quickly go over to Rumble and see if we're live there. And I know we're live on YouTube, but I just want to make sure that we're also live. Yes, we are. Good, 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 good. And we should be live on X as well. So you can see that movie is a very good metaphor for the way I see humanity being controlled. And based on my own experience, I have not found anything to be afraid of. Just want to say hi to Van Darkholm. Hello, nice of you to join us. Welcome to the discovery. The discussion. And I don't know if you already have your copy of Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, but I'm just covering the very last chapter, which is a short chapter, and then we'll open it up to some Q&A and discussion about what does ET think about us. So if you haven't done so already, you might want to order the book, or you can go back to the beginning of the year and watch these podcasts where I'm reading from the book, and I've covered all the book except for today is the very end. And yeah, and I think you'll find this community here very loving, very kind. I have not had any problems. Yes, Denise, my second book is available also on Kindle, and I actually have it at a reduced price on Kindle. It's actually even less if you get the Kindle version than my original book. And the reason I did that was to make it more affordable for people who are on a basic income, but also I just felt it was really important. I had hoped to sell quite a few copies so that people can quickly get adjusted to humanoids that look a lot like us, but are different. Again, because I really feel that the time is coming very soon when the ET disclosure, which is not going to come from the governments, is going to come from us and from ET themselves. And I want people to be prepared and to see that we are all of the same species. We're not that different, except they're way more loving and more spiritual than us. And I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised. But we need to get over that knee-jerk reaction where we're afraid. Because when we become afraid, we're more controllable, and we do not want to be controlled. We don't need masters, and we don't need handlers. We can handle this and ourselves very well on our own. So I'll just finish with this. It says, in my opinion, it is terrible that humans are trying to scare the hell out of us with stories about off-world monsters to keep us trapped and compliant within the construct. Those who create and maintain this false reality are religions, governments, economies, and oligarchs. I believe that a false ET invasion is planned, but according to my experience, the last thing these highly evolved beings would think of is to come down here and mess with our livestock or conduct cruel experiments on us or want to interfere in all of our social spiritual development. But on occasion, humans have been spirited away to train and work toward common goals. People like me. So I'm just wondering if you have any questions before I read the conclusion and the last couple of pages to the book. And it's been a real pleasure to join you every week and to read from the book. And as I had mentioned earlier, I have had a whole new paranormal experience that I did not see coming that's opened up for me. I'm going to talk about it tomorrow on Typical Skeptic, Robert Khalil's podcast. That'll be the first time that it really gets out there. I'd love it if you all could join me tomorrow. I think it's at 1 o'clock Mountain Time. That would be noon Pacific or 3 p.m. Eastern. Robert Khalil's podcast called The Typical Skeptic. Okay, so I'm going to just read the last couple pages here. In 2020, I regained many of my memories and was called out to start making YouTube videos about my transdimensional travels so that people could have a choice as to how they want to prepare for future events here on Earth. We are being conditioned by nefarious humans who are trying to make us afraid of our intergalactic, transdimensional brothers, sisters, and cousins. Why? Because they bring awareness, knowledge, and ways of being which will correct our current state of affairs. They share their wisdom and warnings with some of us in hopes that those who are ready will adjust and prepare for more meaningful contact and advanced development. As I have mentioned before this, my ET friends are not affiliated with any other group. They're not part of the Secret Space Program or the Intergalactic Federation, who negotiates with human rulers, and definitely are not part of any religious organization. They started out as a rogue group a long time ago, and they have become very well established. They do not have faith in dystopian world systems, and they want to be here for us as soon as we are ready. Further, you cannot sign up or be put on a wait list to gain contact. Your money has no meaning there. The only way to become involved is to become a finer human being. We must raise our awareness and do the work necessary to clean up our bodies, minds, and everything else so that we can pull in and hold the higher frequencies of energy that are necessary for contact and development. We must become more spiritually valuable. Then we will be a better match for the beings and culture aboard the big ship, which is so safe, loving, and supportive. There is no fear, and they experience complete freedom because everyone operates within the love harmonic. And after seeing this for myself, it was difficult to come back to mainstream reality. I just want to add here that what it was like for me aboard the big ship was like going home. But it wasn't just like going home. It was like going home after being away for a very, very long time. And it was really difficult to come back to my earthly life and to feel like I was away from my home again. And so I just want you to know the incredible comfort that you all will experience once you're able to make contact. And again, all of us have that capacity. This is not something that only I get to participate in. At this point, I wish to add a note about ET and cannabis. Legend has it that ET beings from the canine star systems brought cannabis to humans in Africa in order to strengthen the transdimensional connections between us and our ET brothers and sisters. Since the most ancient of times, ET brought medicines. When used appropriately, cannabis enhances the function of the limbic system and the pineal gland as it stimulates the imagination to be used as interdimensional technology. The pineal gland is connected to the vagal nervous system, which overlaps with the endocannabinoid system. One day it will be common to use this medicine to allow us to fold dimensions. We can actually fold space within us because the universe resides inside each one of us. This is another reason why we need to purify and build up the body temple. So I myself actually had my transdimensional experiences while I was not using cannabis, but and I'm not exactly sure why. I think the only um, downside to cannabis is it can interfere with your dream state. And since I need my dream state to be clear in order to have transdimensional experiences for me, I was not using it. But I have used cannabis off and on throughout my life under a medical application. It's also interesting, of course, these legends that cannabis was brought to the people of Earth by ET. And I do think that when used appropriately, it can be very, very helpful for helping people to make contact. Now, it doesn't mean you have to use it to make contact. Another example would be psychedelics. I didn't get into psychedelics here, but psychedelics have helped a lot of people have transdimensional contact. And, so I'm just saying each to his own. Whatever path you all feel compelled to follow is the right path for you. But I don't think people should be afraid of using, especially the more gentle medicines like cannabis. And you might be going, well, I tried it and it's not that gentle. Well, it depends how much you do. Depends on the strain, depends on the purity, depends on a whole lot of things. So I just wanted to add that. But we do have an endocannabinoid system. That's a system within the body that has receptors specifically designed for cannabinoids, which is the active component in cannabis, or what they call marijuana. And I think originally we could supply our own, what they call endocannabinoids. But for some reason, I think our health is deteriorated to the point where we're not able to produce that. And so a plant-based copy has been provided, I believe, by the planet and by the spiritual realms to help us out with that. And we wouldn't have an endocannabinoid system if there wasn't a use for it. And it's deeply tied in, as I mentioned, to the vagal nervous system, which is part of your parasympathetic nervous system that allows you to relax, digest, and heal and enjoy life. So I think it's really something, worth considering. It is also important to maintain a deep connection with the inner child, the unspoiled self. That is where our true spiritual power is. This self knows how to connect with everything. The desires we have while in the state of awareness are already being cared for by our loving guides and spiritual community. What we sincerely desire is ours before we even ask for it. Just like a good parent, our higher guides will give us the best outcomes for our highest good. And when we receive the answers we need, we can often see a sense of humor at play. So there used to be quite a lot of talk about inner child work, and people seem to have strayed away from that. But children, they know a lot more than what we know, and they are really, really cued in or tied in to the spiritual realms. But that has been programmed out of them as they grow and get into the mainstream educational system. You can see children that have been homeschooled, though, have much greater success at being connected to their spiritual realms. But we need to find that beautiful, innocent child within. We need to tap into that. And that is another wonderful way that we can start to make contact with other realms. If you want to create the conditions for contact with ET and or participate in transdimensional adventures, take exquisite care of the temple body. Raise your vibrational frequency, learn from the Quantum Health Transformation Program, and look into the CE5 movement. Most of all, enjoy your life, for it is a precious gift. That's the end of the book. I do have images in the book. They're in grayscale, but I've got quite a few of them towards the end of the book, helping you to get an idea of what ET is like and what my experience is like, so that you can get an idea and again reduce the fear and get to know our transdimensional neighbors, friends, family. This is a reality, folks, and it's not going away anytime soon. So, yeah, I highly recommend you get a copy of the book and keep it for reference. And there's so much you can learn from it. So that's the end of the book. So next week we're going to just get into a Q&A, and I hope you will come and bring your questions and your observations and anything that you want to add to the program. Love to have you back. And I think for those of you who haven't got your copy yet, let me just play um, a very quick video here about the book and where you can find it. And then I'll be right back to see if you have any questions or comments. Learn the stunning details about ET diversity and culture, along with their advanced ways of living and expressing spirituality, which is in no way like anything imagined here on Earth. Transdimensional, meet the new neighbors, introduces you to many different ET beings, the healing pods, the interior of the big ship, my orientation process, cultural events, and off-world mating practices. In my contact experience, I learned a great deal about the big ship, intergalactic and transdimensional travel, intergalactic planetary research, and the various options for resettlement. Once I published my first book, I felt the need to create a second book called Transdimensional 2, Meet the Greys Picture Book. I worked with AI to develop many images of beings that we have come to know of as the Greys. These beings come from many places, realms, dimensions, and timelines, and although they are of the same species as other humanoids, they are from many different family lines and races. What qualifies them as Greys is that their skin does not contain the pigment necessary to reflect light in our visible range of the color spectrum, so to us, they all appear to be various shades of gray. Beyond this physical attribute, there is much diversity in their origins, cultures, purposes, and physiological details. My goal is to get you used to the looks of beings which are different than humans in order to reduce your fear and increase your familiarity, so you will remain more rational and grounded once the ET presence escalates beyond debate. Enjoy these images and notice the things we have in common, so you will see that although they are different from us in appearance, we are essentially many family lines within one species. Paperback and Kindle versions of both books are now available on Amazon worldwide. Search the Amazon and Kindle bookstores and pick up your copies today. And we're back. So just a reminder, please smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, comment, and please do share this podcast out to your friends. For those of you who are not familiar, on Wednesdays, I have the Quantum Guide Show, where I interview people from all over the world who have something positive to add to humanity. So it's very upbuilding and very interesting show every Wednesday. And then, of course, here we are with the Aliens and Angels podcast every Sunday. So I hope that you will join us also on Wednesdays. Denise, thank you. She says she just ordered the Kindle version of my second book. Thank you very much. And Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, back to the floor that I love, to a room with some lace and paper flowers, back to the gypsy that I was, to the gypsy that I was. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Tennessee. Thank you for sharing that with us. And that's really a lovely thing to say, especially on this Easter. I got to tell you guys, I always get really confused by a lot of the holidays. Like, for instance, Halloween obviously is not a Christian holiday, and it has many different pagan elements. Christmas, we're told, is all about the birth of Christ, but really it's just a big pagan holiday as well. And it's well known that Christ, or the man Jesus, depending on how you look at it, was not born in the middle of winter. In the Middle East, in the middle of winter, it would be way too cold. Shepherds would not be out with their flocks at night. So probably they think that Jesus or Yeshua was born in the early autumn, but they used it to convert all the people who were of pagan belief systems into the early church. Then there's Easter, which is supposed to be about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the death and resurrection. But again, it's just a great big pagan holiday. Even the word Easter is from the goddess Easter. It seems to be all about bunny rabbits and eggs and fertility rites. So it's just, I find it really confusing. And I kind of don't really worship anything. I love to sort of celebrate the equinoxes. I'm excited during the equinoxes because it means that summer's coming, or it means that we're going to kind of hibernate and get through winter now. It's a complete shift. And then there are the solstices that are in the summer and also in the winter time. And these again are major turning points for me. And I don't celebrate them per se, but I do enjoy them very much and get deeply contemplative about those divisions. But as for all the mainstream holidays, I find them really confusing. And the other part that I find kind of a little bit shocking is it's like from Halloween right through to Valentine's Day, no Easter, it's nonstop junk, sugar, chemicals, crap to numb you out and zone you out. It's not good for your body. It's not good for your mind. It just is a commercial thing. Um, uh, oh, getting back to the song Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot Says Gypsy by Fleetwood Mac. Check it out. Yeah, I will. Thank you. That's lovely. I didn't realize that. Denise says, yes, she loves that song. And Van Darkholm says, could you talk a little bit more about manifestation? I've heard people talk about it, but only on a very, very high level. And okay, so I will talk a little bit about that. So, manifestation is when we bring our desires into reality. So, a really common practice of manifestation would be prayer. And so, I don't know if you've ever had a prayer answered, but when we sincerely go within and request something, something that we need, a healing for somebody, maybe a material thing that we need. It could even be our next meal. When we do that, we are putting out into the universe something that we seriously desire. And I don't know about you, but my prayers often get answered. That is a classic and old school method of manifesting. Now, we can also manifest by being very clear on something we want and allow that to come into our lives. I believe this is because we live in a simulation. We live in a quantum reality where we actually co-create with Holy Spirit and bring things into our reality. And so I suggest you practice and try it. You can try it through prayer. You can try it through visualization, affirmations. You can put up little pictures. There was a show called The Secret that is a very good place to start that you can watch. I believe it's still available. It's available on YouTube and everywhere now. And it gives you some really good basic beginner points on how to manifest. Also, I have a free program. I have the YouTube on my YouTube channel. I have a playlist called Quantum Health Transformation version 3.0. It's also available on my website. It's absolutely free. It's a comprehensive program on how to live your life in such a way that you're getting absolutely the best out of it. But in later parts, it even gets into how to manifest. And I have my own way of manifesting that kind of supercharges the whole thing that you might also want to look into. I'm just going to go back and take a look at Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot. He says, I try to keep my vessel empty. We don't do mainstream holidays, and I try not to even have beliefs. And Denise says, I'm just spiritual. So I would agree with both of these people. I used to have beliefs. I used to be religious. I used to be political, but I don't anymore because I found that if I don't hold beliefs, my whole way of thinking and perceiving reality is more flexible. And when it's more flexible, I can change my mind when I get more data. When I get new information that I haven't considered before, I can change my mind. I can change my mind whenever I want, and I do frequently. In fact, this paranormal experience that I had just a couple weeks ago, I'm going to talk about it on Robert Khalil's show tomorrow, Typical Skeptic. I had a whole new awakening of a whole level of reality I never knew existed before. So, because my mind is open, I can adjust to that. So, I totally agree with you. Be spiritual, but try to stay away from dogma because dogma and rigid beliefs seem to really hold us back. Um, Yoga with Beth Bentley says Passover is more symbolic for Jesus, Yeshua, but the Jewish religion doesn't give any tribute to Jesus. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think that, well, I'm just going to be completely blunt here in my own understanding from what I've learned is that the being that was on earth that we call Jesus or Yeshua is not the same constructed image and persona that the church has given to that entity. And so I think what's happened, like everything in our reality, there's been an inversion, a perversion, and everything that's good has been reformulated to hold us back and to make us more controllable. And that's just my own personal opinion. I am not stating this as a fact, but that's what I believe. So we can believe in all kinds of things. I know people who are Hindu, who are deeply spiritual, and they have connections with all kinds of what we might consider transdimensional beings. There is no right way or wrong way of doing things. What resonates with us is what's important. And I think the important part is that we make these meaningful connections, that we progress, that we become better human beings so that we can make a difference on this earth. And I think that we all need to take a really good look at ourselves to see whether or not we are being controlled. Because when we're being controlled, we're not free. And that universal consciousness gets sort of pinched off and is more difficult to flow into our lives. So let's see. Yoga with Beth Bentley says visualizing and the power of I am. Oh, absolutely. Very, very powerful. When we say I am before anything, we're creating. So, I could say I am tired or I am discouraged, and it might be true. But when we replace those words with I am powerful, I am healthy, I am well, we're actually turning the big ship around. And and I'm using a metaphor when I say big ship. When a ship has to change direction, it's very slow, but it's absolutely happening. And the same thing goes with our health and with our perceptions. Um, let's see. Oh, let me just go back to yoga again. Yoga with Beth Bentley. You can trick your brain by visualizing and create dopamine. Oh, yeah, absolutely. What we're thinking about directly affects our chemical system within the body. Absolutely. Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, right, Denise, I do believe religion and media are war programs against humans. Fill the vessel with fear, guilt, and confusion. And Beth Bentley says, I am a high conscious being. Fantastic. Let's see. Yoga with Beth Bentley says, the only thing that is constant is change. Boy, ain't that the truth. And she also says, I personally believe that Jesus is light. And Denise adds to that, religion recruits us, spirituality finds us. Jesus is the light and the way. Many, many people would agree with you, Denise, and I would never say that any of you are wrong, not at all. I think we're all right. And the other thing, too, is when we talk about our spiritual experiences or even paranormal experiences, we're filtering them through our reality, our perceptual universe. And we've not been given concepts and language to talk about these things. And so we're doing our very best to talk about things that we don't really have language for, regardless of our ethnic background. And so we're just doing our best. So the way I look at it is we're all speaking our truth from our own perspectives, and there is no right way or wrong way to do that. Let's see. Oh, yeah, me too. Beth Bentley says Ganesha is my favorite Hindu god. Me too. There's just something about his roly-poly, friendly, almost childlike innocence. And of course, the butterballs. Yep, absolutely. Me too. Um, Beth says, if you try to control me, I do the opposite. Yeah, Denise, you agree with that. Me too. Me too. Yeah. And let's see. There is no, yes, absolutely. Beth says there is no right answer. It's all perception. I would agree with you there. And Tennessee, Kentucky Bigfoot says, hope to catch you on Rob's. Matt and I did a 2-hour interview with Audrey yesterday. She premieres it tonight at 8 p.m. We got lots of new messages from Gaia and the dragons and such. Oh, at StarNet Link 777. Everybody, I hope you can catch the show with Tennessee and find out more information about all of this. And of course, I would love to see you all tomorrow on Rob's show. That's awesome. Beth says language was made to hide feelings. Oh, ain't that the truth? It's a huge source of misunderstanding. And I was so happy to find out that my friends aboard the big ship only use telepathy. In fact, all my transdimensional experiences are telepathic. And it's so awesome because there's no deception. It's impossible to lie. These beings just say how they feel it or see it. And if you see it different, nobody argues with you. It's really a beautiful environment. Beth Bentley also says it's the remover of all obstacles. And it's about the vibe. I totally agree. Totally agree with you. So it's really nice discussion with you folks. Love having you here. Thank you so very, very much. Again, in case you haven't done so, please like this video. Leave me a comment in the regular comment section. It would really help me out a lot. And I hope that some of you or all of you can come back on Wednesday for the Quantum Guide Show. What's interesting about Wednesday is I'm having a couple of guests on. We're all mothers, and we're all in a very similar sort of spiritual way of living and being. And we're going to talk about how we transfer our teachings, our knowledge, our wisdom onto our children as mothers. Now, some of us, Nina the Mystic is also joining me. She and I did not have our awakening until our children were grown up, but we can make a difference as grandmothers, and we can talk about the things we wish we did differently. So I think that is going to be very, very interesting show on Wednesday. Denise says, thank you, Karen. See you tomorrow. And Beth Bentley says, namaste to Tennessee. And Tennessee says, thank you, Karen, and all enjoyed the talk, and we appreciate all the work you do for the light. Thank you. I really appreciate you too. So again, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And all the links are down in the description. Sending out much light and love to each and every one of you. And we will see you hopefully tomorrow on Rob's show. That would be great. And if not, maybe you could join us on Wednesday. So we'll say goodbye for now. Much love. Happy Easter if you do Easter or Passover or whatever your thing is. Wishing you much happiness. Thank you. Thank you for joining me for the Aliens and Angels podcast. Read about my true life ET contact in my book called Transdimensional Meet the New Neighbors, which is now available on Amazon worldwide. Subscribe to my YouTube, Rumble, and X channels at Karen Holton TV. The like button and leave me a comment. And please do share this podcast with your friends. Check out my website at www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com to see my free resources and amazing products and services. All of the links will be in the description below. As part of the Forbidden Knowledge Network, you'll also find the Quantum Guide Show with Karen Holton on all audio platforms. Until next time, keep up the good work.